Hey everyone, welcome to Wildlife Inspired. I got a little, maybe a mini rant. I don't know what this is going to be called today, but it's a little bit about customer service, a little bit about quality and brand loyalty. So I'll tell you this story right after this. The backstory for this: somebody reaches out to me on Instagram and says, "I finally got my Z9," and I'm excited because this is a bit, I know what it's like. You wait for months, you finally get this camera that you've been waiting for. You want to go out and shoot, and I was excited until I got the rest of the story, which is, look at this, and I'll show you the video. So this is the door, the card slot door for the Z9, and you can clearly see that there's a gap here, and it's not an insignificant gap. This is a weather sealed device. This is their flagship. This is not a situation you would want to be outside with, because in the rain, if it gets it down in that card slot, you risk the whole camera going. Same thing with the battery area. Those are areas you need weather sealed 100%. So clearly a bad situation. It got me thinking a little bit about quality control. So I'm going to talk about quality control, customer service, and brand loyalty all in this video. It's going to be a quick video. Consider it kind of a little mini rant, but also I'm looking for feedback. Some of this stuff I just want to know if you're what your experiences is, if you're in the business, kind of how does this stuff happen? So let's start with quality control. How does the flagship get out the door with that issue? This is not a cosmetic scratch, a little tiny imperfection that could have been missed. My assumption would be and maybe not for the entry level product. I get that, but for the flagships, like, what's the system for quality control? I mean, I guess in my head, everything gets looked at. It comes off the assembly line. Somebody's there, they look at it and make sure everything works, and then they put it in a box and send it out. It's probably so fully automated now that maybe that doesn't happen, but there's got to be some quality control, right? Is it 1 out of 10? Is it randomized? Is it 1 out of 100? Like what? So if you're in this business or you have experience with this type of thing in quality control, at this level, is that an unrealistic expectation, or am I just living in fantasy land where I think your flagship gets looked at by a human who inspects it and then puts it in a box and ships it out? I know a lot of companies do that, because when I get these products, I get a lot of products, I'll see the little signature on there, like that, inspected by, and so I have some confidence that somebody looked at it. What's the deal with this? If you've got experience, again, in quality control or with Nikon, my other thought is, are they making so many? Is the demand so high? They're just trying to crank them out. They're just trying to get them out the door. Is that a problem? So again, if you have any thoughts on this, if you have any experience with this, have you owned a Nikon? Since we're talking about Nikon, have you owned Nikon recently? And have you experienced anything out of the box where it's an issue, just right out of the box? So curious about that. When we're talking about these flagships, whether it's Nikon or Sony or Canon, I'm kind of curious how they relate to each other. In years past, if anybody had come to me and said, give me a camera recommendation, I go to Nikon. That's just boom. This is what I've shot. I thought the D500 was the best camera crop sensor ever made. The D850 was an amazing camera. The Z9, I think, is unparalleled. I don't think there's anything better than it, whether it's Canon or Sony. It's mostly brand loyalty and preference, right? I mean, it's not, none of these make you a great photographer. They just increase your keeper rate, maybe a little sharper here and there. Tracking's a little better, but it's not the camera, it's the photographer. So once you get at this level, this flagship level, it's a photographer. Now, that said, you'd like to open it up and be able to use it out of the box. So thoughts on quality control. Number two, I asked, or she said, it wasn't just the quality control issue, because if they had said, I'll send you a new one, next week, okay. She reaches out, explains the problem, and the answer is send it back, and we'll replace it. And she talks about, how am I going to ship it? Shipping label, send me the thing, whatever. No, you pay for shipping. And here's where it got dicey for me. I've been in customer service for 25 years. Photography is part-time for me. My full-time job has always been in a customer service relay. I deal with hundreds, not thousands of customers a day. I get that some customers are unreasonable. I deal with that too. But at the end of the day, I also know that making somebody's experience pleasant brings them back and builds brand loyalty. And brand loyalty, we'll talk about at the end. So in this case, the response was, no, you pay for the shipping. We'll take care of the rest. I've been a 30-year Nikon user in her case, 30-year Nikon user. And you're not going to pay the shipping charge on a product you sent to me defective? So am I unreasonable in thinking that the company should pick up that expense, not the consumer? Before I made this, when she gave me the story, I started thinking, it's a kind of a neat topic to talk about. I don't really get into this. I stick mostly with photography or product reviews, but let me put this out there. So number one, is it unreasonable? Is it unreasonable to think that the company should pay for that? Number two, before I made this video, I said, can you do me a favor and just escalate this? Can you just make sure? Because I don't want to badmouth Nikon. I've been affiliated with them for a long time. I don't think anybody from Nikon's watching this, by the way, so no big deal, right? They're not going to see this video. If you do, send me an email because I'd like to give you this customer's information. Maybe somebody up in the chain can figure out that this was a mistake. She said, I already did escalate this though. So I've already sent it up, and this was the response I got. I'm gonna put it up over here. And here's the response from Nikon. Escalated supervisor response. Nope, still on you, your dime. And I just thought, that does not feel right to me. You know, as somebody who's been in a service industry, who deals with customers all the time, who understands brand loyalty, we're not talking about, you know, a $5 or $10 product. Somebody who's spending $5,000 or $6,000. And think about this. The next lens is always an upgrade. The next body is always an upgrade. If they're spending $5,000 now, what's the next upgrade? Is it a $10,000 lens? These are the little mistakes I think companies make in service that alienate them from the brand completely. It's the kind of thing that just makes you say, you know, if you don't appreciate me enough to pay for the $15 shipping on an item that you sent to me as defective, screw it. Canon makes a camera just as good. Sony makes a camera just as good. Not the only game in town. And I'm surprised with where the industry is at and how competitive it is right now, that would have been the customer service response. So my next question for those of you who have been maybe a Nikon shooter for a long time, or any shooter, have you noticed any improvement or decrease in the level of service with the company you're dealing with? Is Nikon better or worse than they were 10 years ago? Have you down in the comments, direct experience with this? What are your thoughts? Sony, Canon, curious. Olympus, curious. I hear a lot of great stories around customer service in this industry. I'm curious about this. Has there been a decline in this, and maybe even with Nikon specifically? So, and this last concept was just around brand loyalty, because I think all of that ties into the reliability of the product, the service that you get, the understanding that you get, the empathy that you get from the company matters, and it builds brand loyalty. And I do think that in this business, you talk about what people shoot. I Pro Media Gear, I've done some reviews on their product, love the product, you know, boom, feel good about it. The next ball head I buy, that's where I look first, right? Maybe I buy it, maybe I don't. I shop around a little bit. The next camera I buy, Nikon, always. Like the lens I looked at, I'm going to start with Nikon before I go to third party. Going to start there. And if I have to make these changes, those changes are permanent. Like if you go from Nikon to Sony, that's forever. You don't go back. You don't say, oh, made a mistake. Sold all my glass, sold all my bodies, converted to Sony. I'm going to go back to Nikon. I mean, maybe there's a couple people out there that do that. I actually know a couple that have done that. But for the most part, you leave a brand, you leave a brand. So thoughts on this? Down in the comments below. Quality control. I'll put some reminders down here, some text reminders down in the comments. I really would like to get some comments on this. Little mini rant, not my full-blown mini rants that I sometimes do on my, if you want those, you got to go on Instagram and follow me there, because once in a while, if I get a really Panera cup of coffee, they can't make a cup of coffee at my local Panera. They just can't do it. There's grinds in it all the time. Like, I don't know how they function. You will get the mini rants on there about that. If you don't know how to make a left turn quickly on a light that only lasts for 10 seconds, I gotta, you know, sometimes that gets under me a little bit. Try to keep this channel real positive, but if you want those mini rants, follow me over on Instagram, because you'll get them once in a while. But this little mini rant wasn't really about just bashing Nikon. It was really just about, is this acceptable? And am I unrealistic in thinking that a company who sends you a defective product should pay to cover the shipping back when you just spent $6,000 on the camera? All right. Your thoughts down below. Thanks for tuning into this one. Appreciate your support on the channel as always. And I hope we can continue to find inspiration in wildlife together.